Hi everybody, Jo here again. Lovely to have your company. Thank you for joining me. Grab yourself a brew, maybe a cheeky biscuit. Not that we've still decided which one we're going to have we? And I thought we'd make a design similar to this one today. And I just thought we'd have a bit of a catch up, and we're going to do some lovely stencil work. I have to say, I just adore Lavinia stencils. I'd love using stencils anyway. So we're going to do a bit of a twofer. So we're going to get our free background, and then I can't wait to see what you create with your free background. So I'm not going to go through the products just because I'll introduce them as we're going to use them, and we'll get started. I'm going to put this to one side so I can keep an eye on what I did. You know me, I'm liable to go off at a tangent. Now I'm going to start with a piece of the Multifarious cardstock, and this is 7 inches by 5 inches. Just because with a stencil, I find that's a good size to use. Now this stencil, as you know, I keep mine in these little folders. I just find it keeps all these little edges. If I keep my stencils together, they can catch and get stuck with each other. So I like just to keep them in my little folders. And this one is Flourish. And then we're going to use one of the lovely stencil brushes. Now I have to say these are very soft. Now I don't have one for each colour, but I have one for each colour group. So this is my blue brush. And I'm going to use a couple of Distress Oxides. You can use Distress inks, you can use your Elements inks. I've just gone for the oxides because they're on my desk. But I want to almost have a bit of an ombre with this. So I'm going for Faded Jeans, Peacock Feathers, and then Wilted Violet. I want to come into the purples, the sort of purple end. And if you look at the finished design, we can see where we've got our light blue coming into a bit more of a sort of sea blue, and then the purple down here. And hopefully we're going to just blend it as we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the background first. Now, what I love about this stencil is we've got some open area. Now, do remember you've got 2 choices with your stencil. Now, again, I'm going to put mine, let me think. I like the white space here. So I'm going to put it like this. But I need to be mindful not to go over these edges because I don't want a line. Now, also, I could tape this down, but I'm going to hold it. So to be fair, if you're new, and it is lovely that we've got some lovely new crafters that are joining our channel, so thank you very much. If you're new, you're probably best getting a piece. Let me see if I've got some of tape, low tack tape, and actually putting your tape sort of down here. And what it does is it forms a hinge so that you can actually lift your work up and have a look. I mean, as I say, I just get a bit lazy and just hold it, but let's do it properly. Let's put the tape on. Now, I'm going to start. I tend to have my colours down the side in the way that I'm going to use them, just because that's the way it works in my head. And that's just the way I work. So I'm going to start with my lighter colour first. So I'm in, and when I load my brush, I go backwards and forwards, look. So I'm not just loading the edge. I don't want to stipple. I want to actually load my brush. I want to blend the colour. So this is my lighter colour. I always try and get in the habit of having a piece of tissue just under my hand in case I've got ink on here. Now, this, if you look, we could catch these edges, so always brush away. We don't want to brush against this and lift it. So I'm going to start sort of about halfway because I want this edge to be light, and I've got the most colour, the most ink on my brush now. So I'm just brushing lightly, and I'm almost going to flick away. Like I say, I don't want to go over this edge, and I don't want to go right up to this edge here where there's a line. Now, you might think we haven't got much on there, but if we lift and have a look at that beautiful. That is so lovely, and I love the way that it's just light going off here. Just get a little bit more around there. So I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to go into my next colour, my Peacock Feathers. Now, as you can see, this is quite a sort of a turquoisey again, sort of blue colour. And I'm going to start further down here. Again, I've got the most ink on my brush down there. And then I'm going to blend, almost blend it up. And it's almost a flicking motion. I'm just going to flick up into that blue to see if I can get a nice blend. I don't want a harsh edge where the two colours join. So by flicking, the colour will be lighter. And see if I can get some tone of that colour to blend it in. So can you see we've got peacock feathers here and you can't actually see the join. In fact, I could flick a little bit more. I'm not going to add any more onto my brush. I've got plenty on there. Just to bring that a little bit to tone, that's better. Tones in beautifully. And as you notice, I'm not cleaning my brush in between. And I'm just going to come into the purple now. So again, I'm going to start at this edge where my deepest colour, I want that at the bottom. And again, I'm going to flick up into the blue. Now I've got quite a harsh line here with the blue. So I need to just see if I can get rid of that. So I might just bring in a little bit more blue into the purple and just try and blend and then get a bit more purple into the blue. And just try and blend these colours so I've got a better join. Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? Just a little bit more work. Sometimes if you're not happy with the areas where it blends, just keep working. Just keep working at it. Oh, that's nicer. Yeah, in fact, I can just take a little bit more purple. Just going to hold it here. And I'm just going to flick a bit more purple into that blue. I think I can afford. And this is where don't rush. Just blend that purple into that a bit more. Yes, that looks better, doesn't it? How that purple comes round. So we're happy with that. Can take that off. And we've got that lovely, if I bring it a bit closer, can you see that lovely, lovely fuzzy edge? Some bits on my card, I don't know where they've come from. That lovely edge here, and then going down into the blue and that lovely purple. And here it's almost quite cloudy. I love that. So I'm just going to put the lids on my ink pads a minute. I like to put the lids on straight away if I can. Just saves me putting my hand in it and getting ink everywhere. Now what we're going to just do, I'm just going to clean my stencil brush a little, put that to one side. Now we've got some ink on here. Now it'll be interesting to see just how much ink we've got on there. So for our freebie, we're just going to spritz. Now Eric, my Labrador, is sat on the floor next to me. So I've just spritzed water over him. But I don't think he minds, it's quite a hot day. Well, he hasn't moved anyway. Sorry, mate. So we've just reactivated that ink, spritzed it with water, and let's see. And this is our twofer, our bonus, our free background. And these are ideal. You know, if you have a day where your mojo's gone a bit or you're a bit fed up, these backgrounds are great for those sorts of days. Just leave it down another, let's just see. Sometimes you get some colour, sometimes you don't. But often the ones that aren't very colourful, oh, look at that. Yeah, I'm more than happy with that. Give that a dry. And look at that. How beautiful is that? That is going to make a lovely subtle background, isn't it? And the colours. And I've got to be honest, I often prefer these to the one we've made. It's very interesting, isn't it, which you're going to like. So I'm going to put that to one side to dry, because obviously it's better when that's dry and that's your one. I can't wait to see what you produce with your free one. So we'll stamp on our background that we've made. And the perfect stamps for these, I found my little fairy foragers. And I thought these will be lovely on here. And don't forget, if you don't know where to place them, you've got your acetate to help you decide. So I've got all 4 here. And I'm just going to ink them up in black. And again, nice light tapping. And as you know, I just catch the edges. It's just something about the way I ink them up. So now on my original, I had her somewhere here. And again, the silhouette stamp, so just give them time to just let the ink soak into your card. Because again, it's got to go through the oxide ink. So we'll give her, oh, she's worked really well, hasn't she? So let's have a look. The one with the lamp on. Isn't it funny how we have ones that we specifically, I know we shouldn't have favourites, but we do. These are so tiny and yet so delicate. Right, so we're going to add her lady with the lamp about there. And again, don't be in a rush with your stamping. Make sure you just give it. Oh, by the way, one lady asked the other day why. She noticed on the back, right, so my ink pad, quite often when I'm stamping, I put it that way. And that's purely because I'm used to when the ink pads start to get they're not as juicy, they start to run out. I like to have mine that way so it gives the ink time to soak to the top of the felt. And the reason I have a date on mine is that I have 2 or 3 ink pads on the go at any one time. And when I'm doing workshops, I like to make sure I take a new ink pad with me. And it's not an old ink pad. But also, if I want to do some sort of second generation and paler work, I might want an older ink pad. So for me, I just find it useful to put the date on that when I open my ink pad. But it's nice that you ladies and gentlemen notice these things and ask questions. You're very observant, I have to say. So this one, now this is nice. We've got an area there that's going to be nice just to put, going to put her there. I mean, this is such a lovely background, you know. You could even just put a sentiment and maybe a flower. You wouldn't need a lot else with this. I mean, obviously I'm adding things, but you wouldn't have to. I think it is such a lovely, lovely background. And, you know, if you're having a day where you just feel a bit off, you could make yourself quite a few backgrounds and then have some fun stamping them up. So again, I'm just going to take, now she's lovely, she's going to be stepping. I don't want her directly on top of there, so I'm going to come to the side here a bit. And again, give it a good, let it just soak in. And look at those, they've stamped beautifully. Now, when I did this originally, I thought, oh dear, but they just look like they're floating. I mean, I know fairies fly. Obviously, my fairies are flying. But then I found my fairy orb stamp. And my first idea was I was going to put a sentiment in this fairy's arm. So she was holding the sentiment, almost like a banner. And I thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to give it a fairy orb. So I very carefully stamped the smaller of the fairy orbs in her hand. And then I thought, you know what? We could actually put our fairies dancing on. It's quite funny, we had the grandchildren at the weekend and they love bubbles. I mean, they're 2 and 4 and they adore bubbles. You can get all sorts of bubble machines. And the colours in the bubbles are amazing. And I thought, you know what? I'm sure we have fairies dancing on those bubbles. So look at that. That's what we can do. And their feet are just perfect. I'm not going to use the big, what shall we, no, go for the middle one. I don't want 2 big ones together, as it were. So let's stamp up. Now, sorry if my head gets in the way. I just want to actually get her feet so she's tiptoeing on. So I might get a bit of my head. So I'm really sorry if you get my head and my hair. And then we're just going to put her resting nicely on that one. Oh, yeah, that's nice, isn't it? And then we'll add a couple of smaller ones just for balance. So let's have one there. And then it's always nice to have designs coming off the page. So we'll have one here. And then for balance, we need something up here, don't we? Just as we're looking at it. Composition is very important. But also, we don't want a pizza. I don't want to go too mad with them. So there we go. And that is just nice, just enough. So we'll pop those to one side. And then just at the bottom, I just wanted a little more interest. So I'm going for the field grass. And as you know, this is just one of my all-time favourite stamps. And I'm going to stamp it first in the monarch. We've got purple at the bottom, and it's just to bring in that purple. Often when I'm doing my foliage stamps, I like to stamp in 2 colours, just because it helps with the depth of the design. So I'm going to stamp in purple. Again, not too many. I don't want a pizza. But then I'm going to come in with my black. I'm just going to give it a bit of a wipe. Get my Inky Binky out, which still, he needs a bath. I need to wash him. And then in with the black, and this will just help with the depth. The black stamping will come to the foreground, pushing my purple grass to the background, and then it just helps with that lovely flowing feel of the grass. You know how it, at this time of year, mind you, most time of year, and I'm actually just going to put one in front of that. There, and I think that, if you look, really helps with the composition, and it's almost multi-layered now. For a flat piece of card, we've got that depth, which I have to say I'm really happy with. Now you could just leave it like this, and I'm just going to give it a quick blot. I try and get into the habit of blotting my work, because again, your VersaFine Clair is a slower drying ink. But we can add a little bit more. And the first thing I'm going to do with my fine liner is I'm just going to add some little lines where I just want it to look like my bubbles are moving. So it just helps looking with that movement. And then we're going to add some colour. So I'm going to come in again. Oh, I nearly spilt my water then. And I'm just going to add faded jeans, the 3 colours we used in the same order, peacock feathers, and then my wilted violet. And again, my paintbrush is in my water pot, it's always there ready. And I'm just going to add a bit of water to each colour. Clean my brush. Right, I'm going to start with the lighter colour and just go over the middle of my orbs. And again, remember, we have got ink underneath, but it's fine, this will just reactivate it. And we just want that little bit of the idea of a hint of blue. I don't want much blue, just the hint. And then I'm going to come in with my next colour and just go around that, so it's sort of getting a bit deeper. And again, because it's all nice and watery, these will blend, the colours will nicely blend together, so I don't have to blend them. And when you've got a good quality cardstock, it'll take the water really well. And again, you can add some more if you want. If you think, oh, it's a bit pale, come in with a bit more. But what I want to do now, and this is where you see the most dramatic bit, is come in with the purple and actually put the purple round the edge. And it just helps with the orbs. A, we're filling them in, but B, we're making them look more sort of spherical with having that darker colour round the edge. And it ties in nicely, again, because we're using those same 3 colours that we used in the background. So again, it gives us that cohesive design. We're not introducing any more colours. We're going off what we've already used. Now I just want a bit more wilted violet. And I'm not adding as much water to this because I want it to be a deeper colour. Obviously, the more water you add, the lighter the colour will be. And I just want to darken those edges, look. Now, again, at home, you would spend a little bit longer than me. I'm always conscious of, you know, keeping you too long. But that's better. You see how that really looks lovely with the colours. And the last thing I'm going to do, just with a little bit of the light blue, just going to add a hint to the wings. Now that looks almost a bit too pale there, so I'm just going to add a bit more blue to that one. And that's the beauty of it, you can add the colour as you go in. And in fact that one seems a bit light, doesn't it? We'll add a bit more blue in there. I'm happy with that. So we'll just clean that up. And then just to help with making them look a bit more spherical, I'm going to come in. Now we could get some grey ink and paint some grey ink, or we could use our charcoal pencil. But I've got to be honest, I like these clean colour brush pens because I find the brush marker very useful for this. And this is just a grey, a light grey, and I'm just adding some shadow just round the base of my fairy orbs here. And it's almost, for me, I always have my shadow at the bottom and on the right hand side. Now I can, if I want, add a little bit to the fairy as well. Again, you don't have to go over the top, it's just nice to have a little bit of shadow in. Just helps make her pop. And again, you can go over it again. We don't need to do it too much. There we go. And I love that shadow in. There'll just be a little bit on here, not much. And then next I'm going to come in with my Signo. I mean, these are in all different colours. If you haven't got these, honestly, they're fantastic. They're on the Lavinia website. And I'm just going to add some little dots to my fairy wings. Now, I could add glitter, and we've got some lovely glitters. But for me, I just wanted something a bit more subtle. And so the little dots, and in fact, I've got the, now is this a gold? Yes, this is gold. And I just want to add a little tiny bit round that lantern look. So you see how that, with the wings. And then to help with the fairy orbs, we can add some little dots. Where all these little dots are on your orbs, we can add the sparkle. Go a bit dotty. And it's really nice because considering it's flat, they certainly do look to be raised. And I'm going to come in with my purple Posca. Again, give it a good shake. And I'm just going to add some little bits of purple flowers onto my grasses, just to add a bit more interest with my grasses here. And I think we're nearly done. I mean, that didn't take long, did it? Now, again, for me, it's looking at the different, you can see the lovely, lovely texture behind with the stencil work. Your fairy, I mean, this one especially, if you have a close look at this, it looks so textured. These don't look like the flats. I mean, that does look like a proper shadow, doesn't it? Beautiful. The last little thing you can do is come in with your white Posca and just add. Now, this would be better if it was dry. Obviously, mine isn't quite dry. But what I would do at home is let this dry. Well, I am at home. But if I was doing it for myself, I would let it dry before adding my white Posca. And then mat this on some black card. And I just think these fairy foragers are perfect for dancing on our fairy orbs. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for joining me. There's the finished one, and there's the one we've created today. And don't forget, you've got your bonus background as well. If you make these cards, and especially if you stamp up your bonus background, please, if you add it to our Lavinia page on Facebook and tag me in, I'd love to see what you do. I mean, if you want to use different stamps, again, you can. Obviously, it's your stamp of choice, different stencil. But I'd love you to have a go. And I'd love to see what you get up to. So you take care. Thank you very much for joining me. Lots of love and hugs from me. Bye for now.